Welcome back to the Pain Game YouTube channel. We are talking the UFC middleweight title picture today as Israel Adesanya lost the belt a little while ago and there's been a vacuum of power left behind and we are all wondering, will we get another dominant middleweight champion? And the reason I'm so intrigued by that situation is because in MMA, it is so much harder to be a dominant champion than in boxing. Boxing is obviously much more limited in terms of tools and therefore more limited in terms of ways to lose a fight. Whereas in MMA, if you're a dominant champion, it is so much more impressive than in boxing. And that's not another boxing MMA debate, it's just facts. And the question was, will Sean Strickland or Strickland Du Plessis be that guy, the next big thing in the division? And watching this fight, it felt like neither guy is going to be that guy. Not that they can't, be a champion and dominate, but neither one was head and shoulders better than the other guy. And there's a lot of people calling this fight a robbery, because Strickland lost and some people felt he won, and I'm going to get into that. But for me, I can never call a fight a robbery either way when it's very close. But I can't disagree with the decision. And I wanted Strickland to win this fight. And the reason is he's a disruptor. He causes chaos. He's a problem. In sport these days, especially in other sports like football that I watch, or even boxing to some degree, it's so sanitized and you just don't get these wild, outspoken characters who say all the wrong things and don't give a fuck even if they are. And when you get someone like that who's in the spotlight, it's fun to see how people shit themselves around him. And we're living in a world now which is so woke and you can't say this and you can't do that. And as much as I agree to some degree that we should have a sense of, sensitivity around certain subjects, it's fun when someone just comes in and says, fuck all that, I don't give a shit. And even though I don't agree with everything he says, obviously, because who the fuck agrees with everything one other person says? You shouldn't even have to say that, but in these days you do just to cover your own arse in case because Strickland might go out and fucking kill someone for all I know. I literally can't predict this guy. He's like the stone cold Steve Austin of the UFC era. Having someone who just pisses so many people off is entertaining for me, even if I don't agree with it. And I think someone who is so anti-woke and pro-free speech, as ridiculous as some of the things he comes out with are, it's healthy to have someone out there who has the spotlight forced on them as a reminder of a time when this fucking shit world we're in, it wasn't so fucking sanitized and people did just say whatever the fuck they wanted. And people then had to understand that sometimes that will happen and we can agree to disagree instead of you should not be allowed to say anything you want. However, I understand the hypocrisy of the UFC because Dana White has come out and said, well, it's free speech and you can say whatever the hell you want and you can't silence them. And as much as I love that, if Sean Strickland started saying things that were anti-UFC, would he still have the same attitude? I highly doubt it. And it ain't that I'm anti-Du Plessis because I think having a South African champion is kind of cool. I like the variety. I like that we've got different countries throwing up champions here and there. And he seems like a decent guy. Although the kissing all of his mates on the lips thing is a bit strange. I'm not saying that kissing men on the lips is strange, because if you're a gay man, I'm pretty sure it's great. But I don't think he's gay, judging by the hot piece of ass he had with him. Do you know, is that like a South African thing?
Yeah.
My mate's a South African guy. He's just explained it is normal for them. So there you go. Does that mean we have to do that? It's fine. We won't be doing it. They said before this fight, to the death. And it was anything but to the death. It was a very tactical, careful, well thought out fight from both guys where neither man risked everything to win the fight. In that sense, a bit of a letdown. And I'm not completely on the side of, in order to take a title from a champion, you have to absolutely knock him out. But I think you have to clearly beat him. And there is no way, in my opinion, that happened. However, it was Strickland's first ever title defense, and he didn't exactly look amazing either. Strickland likes to control the pace, kept the fight quite slow, and he's using them ones and twos. Now, very rarely is he throwing combinations where he's really trying to enforce his will on Du Plessis. And it was a case of, I'm going to throw more than you overall, but it's about being precise and defensively responsible. Strickland's natural instincts of how he reads a guy coming towards him in terms of distance, in terms of what punch is going to come next, is some of the best I've ever seen in the UFC. I will give him that. Like, his ability to maintain eye contact and see where the danger is coming from. Very rarely have I seen anyone who can do that as good as him in the UFC. And his jab, another thing that is really underutilized in the UFC, is outrageously good. I mean, it is pinpoint, and the damage it did over the course of the fight was right there at the end of it when you seen the state of Du Plessis' face. Du Plessis, on the other hand, he has these like thudding strikes that really do, leave a dent in the opponent. You can see there's a lot of power behind him, but he's a bit more clumsy. His accuracy isn't quite as good. His judgment of distance isn't as good. What I will say is he mixes it up better than Strickland. There was a lot more, kicks mixed in with the punches and the takedowns, whereas Strickland's a bit more of a one-trick pony. Like, it's the same over and over and over again. And I think if Strickland actually employed some of that mixing up, he would have had more success because he would have been less predictable. Du Plessis, on the other hand, is predictable in that his movement is a lot more stiff and less fluid. And because he is quite muscle bound, he just throws a bit like a bodybuilder sometimes. You know what I mean? But it fucking hurts, clearly. So let's take a look at the highlights, because the first time I watched this through, I scored it 3-2 to Strickland. Some stabbing kicks from Strickland, moving off centre line as always. Nice high kicks though from Du Plessis. And Du Plessis landed multiple takedowns throughout the night, but really did no damage with them. I mean, I'm not really sure how they score the takedowns, because for me, the whole point of a takedown is to either inflict ground and pound or a submission. If you do neither of those, what's the point then? Do you know what I mean? What are we doing here? The guy got back up every single time, and the only damage, to my knowledge, that was inflicted through the takedown was in defending a takedown. Strickland took a headbutt in the 4th round, and that opened up a bad cut. Aside from that, those takedowns, while they might have drained a little bit of energy, they probably drained energy from Du Plessis as well, and were fairly useless. The only thing they do is they offset Strickland's ability to know what you're going to do next, so that you're more likely to then catch him out with your strikes than you would have been if he wasn't thinking about the takedown. And overall, I thought he had a really strong first round, Strickland. Lovely jab work. Like, that jab is stinging him. Ooh. And that was kind of classic in the way both men threw. Like, Strickland's got very A to B straight line punches, just getting that speed out there so that you can keep the fucking head snapping back. Du Plessis in the first round just could not get the range. Those looping shots, too out of range. Second round was quite controversial. I think some people gave it to Du Plessis. I personally gave it to Strickland. Another takedown, but fuck all that. Fuck that. That summed it up, really. Now it achieved. I felt like the third round was a really good round where he'd made some adjustments for the range, and Du Plessis was finding that chin a bit more. Nice return there from Strickland with the overhand right. The 4th round, it felt a bit like Strickland, while he was bleeding, like, it just looked like he was fading a little bit energy-wise, and I thought this was a really good round for Du Plessis. It was a lovely trip there that got him down. Still gets right back up though. Nice little 1-2. Yeah, just a little messier from Strickland. Not the clean striking that you would have expected in this round. And that just doesn't look good. Even though he's not achieving anything, Du Plessis ragdolling you a bit, it just looks like he's dominating you. But again, Strickland gets back to his feet, and nothing came of it, really. And that is a lovely return. The 5th round is where they really went a bit more all out, and for me, it was quite clear that Strickland got the better of the 5th round. That was a round that I felt like I was in no doubt of who won that round. And strangely, a lot of people disagreed. It seemed like on Twitter, some people had it 2-2 going into the 5th. That's what I felt, and I felt like Strickland clearly won the 5th. Nice big overhand right again from Strickland, and he's swinging that like a hammer. It's not clean, but it'll do. And I think this could have happened earlier in the fight, really. It needed to. If someone really wanted to put a stamp on of who's winning this was necessary in the 4th round. Right, let's look at the stats. So in round 1, Strickland landed 34-18, so that was a clear round to him. In round 2, it's 22 for Strickland, 26 to Du Plessis, so it's 1-1 in terms of significant strikes. Round 3, 31-29 to Strickland. Round 4, 33-29 to Strickland. And round 5, 53-35 to Strickland. Now, in the first round and the last round, Strickland outlanded Du Plessis by 16 strikes in the first and 18 in the 5th. So the 2 most dominant rounds of the fight were both to Sean Strickland. This isn't my opinion, this is just numbers. Don't shoot the messenger. Because I really don't give a fuck who won this, to be honest with you. I know I'm saying I'd rather Strickland win, but fair is fair, and I'm not being biased here. It feels like it was a very close fight, but those numbers, for me, say Strickland should have won this fight. Especially when Strickland is the defending champion. If you're the defending champion, and you have 3 close rounds, 1 of them you got outlanded on, and 2 rounds outside of that you absolutely outlanded him by a mile on. So you've only lost, in terms of significant strikes, 1 round of the entire 5-round fight, and you lose the belt when you've had clear dominant rounds. I think Strickland should feel very unlucky that he's lost that belt. Now, the one thing for UFC fans that I think that this does give us, depending on how long it takes Du Plessis to get better, is a Israel Adesanya versus Strickland Du Plessis title fight, because the bad blood between them was fucking piping hot. It's been fantastically built, and this would be a epic fight. But I still feel for Sean Strickland. Like, I still think that this shouldn't be the way it is, but we've got a hell of a matchup ready and waiting for when Du Plessis is healed up. And overall, neither guy really came off like, I'm going to dominate this division for years and years to come. I could be wrong. Maybe Du Plessis, now he's got the belt, will be supercharged. We've seen it before. And I have to say, looking back at it, Darren Till's performance against Du Plessis now gets better and better every time you watch it, because he did really well. And, you know, a lot of people thought Darren was sort of done, wasn't good enough for the UFC anymore. I think now we can look at that fight and go, Darren should be in the UFC. And potentially he's making a mistake by going full boxing, because he still clearly can mix it with the best in MMA. And I hope this gives him something to think about, to be honest. That's going off on a tangent, I know, but maybe this boxing thing's a mistake, because the performance he put in against Du Plessis, compared to a lot of people, is right up there. So let me know how you scored the fight and what you thought in the comments below, and who your next pick is at middleweight to be our next dominant champion. Do you think I've missed a trick? Is there anything you think went wrong in the fight? Have I misscored it? Personally, I think Strickland won it. Let us know what you think. Hit that like button, subscribe to the Pain Game YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. You know, I get a lot of messages asking, how the hell do you do it, Geordie? So bloody youthful. I use Verso because science is a wonderful thing, and now we're not only stopping the aging process, we're going backwards. You see, Verso is a company dedicated to translating scientific breakthroughs into products that hold potential to increase longevity. And my favorite supplement from Verso is Cell Being. It's a product formulated with a strategic blend of ingredients aimed at fighting the effects of aging by boosting NAD+ levels. Because to function properly, every single cell needs a substantial amount of energy. And unfortunately, as we age, our cells struggle to produce the amount of energy we did when we were younger. And high NAD+ levels can actually enhance metabolism, and Lord knows I've needed that. I think mine stopped at one point. It also repairs damaged DNA, boosts energy production in key areas such as brain, immune system, and your muscles. And after taking Cell Being for the past couple of months, I've noticed I've had more energy throughout the day, better sleep at night, and also had more mental clarity when I'm doing podcasts. And Verso publishes third-party testing from each batch produced to guarantee you are getting what you pay for. So if you want to feel better within yourself every single day, go and click the link in the description below, go to Verso, use my code TRUE, that's TRUE, all block capitals, at checkout for 15% off, and get your Benjamin Button on. If you've never seen the movie, that's really not going to make sense, but Google it. Brad Pitt thing, he was old guy aged back, long story. It's a great supplement. That's all, it's just great. It works. So thanks to our sponsors Verso, and thanks to all of you who do try the product. It's fantastic.